You always have to have that big picture analysis. And when you're running your office, when you're running your practice, that's another thing that I've done. I've cut back and we've scheduled a different way because honestly, those 78 exams that we're doing at the pace I was going was burning out my staff. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD podcast, very important episode. Today, we're talking about your attention, your focus. Where are you spending your time mentally? We have the closing thought of the episode. This is the Ultimate OD podcast. Here we go. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD podcast. Thank you for the likes, the listens. It's been snowpocalypse up here in Michigan. My kids had a week off of school. I think in the week, we got like 30 plus inches of snow. But the office is still running. We got people coming in. It's moving. Like we're still doing well. Early analysis on the year. For the year, by design, I shouldn't say this as a bad thing, but by design, we have seen about 78 less comprehensive exams, but we're even on revenue. So our revenue per refraction is up. And I say by design because I've downscheduled a ton. This has got the current associate pretty much a full schedule. And we're adding a new associate in the spring when he graduates from optometry school. So it's working. But I'll tell you, this is where strategy and belief in your strategy comes in. Because I'm going crazy I hate not having every one of the patients that wants to be seen able to get in this week. We have full books. We just have people waiting, and that's new. And that's because we started pre-appointing. We did it well. And our strategy is starting to come into play in the sense that I'm down scheduling to give myself more time to work on the business and adding associates to do patient care. Stay tuned, but I think it's going to be good. We'll see how the new associate does. He is the X factor. If he can perform, we're going to be great. We take too long to get him up to speed, I'm going to go stir crazy. But that's what happens. And it's all good. I say that with a smile on my face because that's been my dilemma since I've started, is accepting the fact that other people can see patients. Not everyone can run an office. And that leads us to the topic of today's podcast. It comes from a book that I did not read, but I listened to a couple podcasts by the author. It's called Peak Mind by Amishi Jha, Jha. And what we're talking about today is our attention. Probably the most valuable resource that we have is our time and where we focus it at. I have been a ninja with my attention since optometry school of shutting out the outside world. I am very good at taking everything around me and letting it just operate, and me being in my bubble of optometry, whether it was school, exams, to running the office, I can focus on business and shut out the outside world. Now, the thing I've had to learn is that when you're in the business, what you're doing there. That has been a struggle. That's been a journey, and that's something I've gotten a lot better at. But you have to acknowledge what I'm going to talk about before you can get better at it. So, your attention is directly related to patient care, how your team performs, revenue, KPIs, and burnout. You have a distracted mind, you are going to be burned out. When you are focused, it's much easier to be in the zone, excited, and ready to go to work each day. We're going to have another podcast coming up in the future about the power of framing a situation. But today, we're going to just talk about our attention. All right. So in the book, they talk about the flashlight concept. And the flashlight is where your attention goes. It can be direct and lasered in, or it can be broad like a floodlight. Realize the broader your flashlight, the less intense it is on the things it's looking at. So this is an interesting concept because as practice owners, we're responsible for everything. So it's really easy early on to have just a broad floodlight that's covering everything, but nothing is getting really looked at and examined. You're just aware of what's going on. And I think that's what happened to me early on is I knew I should be working on optical. I knew I should be working on the business. I knew I should be working about scheduling. And I do little things, but nothing with purpose, nothing with intention. Since I've gotten better at this, I have objectives. I have objectives. My office manager has objectives. Those are our dialed in, our focus. Now, as I get further on, you got to realize that because we are the owners, we have to wear multiple hats. The intensity and, using the flashlight analogy, the intensity and the broadness is going to fluctuate throughout the day, but understand that concept. So when you look at your practice, if you take a step back and look at where a lot of the problems reside, as I sat back and thought about this, I thought it was, I just have a bad strategy, I have a bad culture, but it wasn't really the culture, it wasn't the strategy, it was the time and attention and focus I was putting on each. If you don't put the effort in, if you don't put your attention and time towards the thing, it will go to crap on you. So how do we do this? What kind of attention do we have? There's 3 types according to the author J.H.A. Jaha, Dr. Jaha. Spotlight. This is easy. This is the ability to focus on one thing at a time. You have got to get good at this. I've gotten so much better in the last year as I've added the associate. I've realized that there's times to work on coaching, there's times to work on staff, and there's time to see patients. Beginning this year, I realize I'm a ways into this. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are my patient care days. I don't look at revenue anymore. I used to every day throughout the day look at outcomes, look at revenue, how are we doing, and that's how I would be judging if my day was successful. Because I've started to have this flashlight attention, when I am seeing patients, my focus is on patient care. Again, my staff will come to me with things, and I have to work on other things like office meetings that are a few days away. But when I'm seeing patients, I am trying to be as dialed in as I can, and I'm focusing on the patient in the chair. Because I've done this and given myself time in the exam room, our dry eye clinic has exploded. We're doing great. I just told you that we have seen 75, 78 less comprehensive exams, and we're doing the same revenue. That is 100% attention-based. We're putting our focus, our energy where it belongs, and it's working. This attention also matters when you're making decisions. Are you focused on patient care when you're trying to coach up a staff member? Are you focused on home life, problems with your spouse or with the kids or something going on there when you're trying to see patients? Right? Your attention needs to be dialed in. And again, life happens. You're not going to be 100% perfect, but you have to be aware of it. So that's it. Spotlight. Number 2, floodlight. All right? Broad, situational. This, in my conversations with my office manager, has been one of the biggest adjustments that she's had to make. We got really good at focusing on little details. And she'd come in and she'd have focused energy on the details. And then I'd ask her about something else going on, and she was kind of unaware. And we took a step back. She's a parent, has kids. And I said, you know how you'll have one child that you're focusing in on, but you still know where the other one is, what's going on. That's kind of how you run your office. You always have to know the temperature of the room. Is someone unhappy? Is there a culture thing? How's everyone feeling? When I go into the office, although I'm focused in, spotlight on my patient care, I'm always trying to get a gauge. Hey, how are you doing today? Good weekend? How did it go up front today? I'll make time throughout the day, like at lunch, I'll go and do my rounds. How's everyone doing? How's things going? Any issues? How can I help you out? And it's getting a gauge, reading the staff. How do they interact with me? What's the vibe. How is it feeling? You always have to have that big picture analysis. And when you're running your office, when you're running your practice, that's another thing that I've done. I've cut back and we've scheduled a different way because honestly, those 78 exams that we're doing at the pace I was going was burning out my staff. I was so focused and dialed in that I was just turning and burning without taking into account how it was affecting my staff. Had a lot of staff turnover. Our staff seems to be more stable now because I'm aware of the big picture. Always be aware of that floodlight perspective. This is how you manage culture, how you manage staff. It gives you a good way to be proactive in how you interact with issues or problems rather than reactive. When you're constantly reacting to things, you're going on emotion, you're going on the feeling in the moment, and that's not how you run a successful business. The last type of attention is called juggler. And this will make sense as I explain it. It is honestly probably going from spotlight to floodlight, spotlight to floodlight. You are working in multiple different levels and constantly jumping from one issue to the next. Patient flow. Are things going the way you need them to? Is someone late? How do you adapt and adjust? If a staff member calls in sick, how do you adapt and adjust? Someone leaves in the middle of the day. Problems arise and you instantly start managing the situation. This is great. It's awesome that you can do this, but if you live in this world, you are going to burn yourself out, hands down. It is a very hard place to live in constantly, and the more stress you have, the worse you are at it. So this can work if it's controlled, if it's in an environment where you have support systems that you can lean on other people. But if it all falls on you, not going to work. So those are the three types of attention. You have your spotlight, your floodlight, and then your juggling things. Knowing that juggling things is necessary, but you don't want to live in this area. You don't want to live in this zone. Now, as the CEO of our practice, our job is to control the flashlight, right? Whether it's a spotlight, whether it's the juggler attention, whether it's the floodlight, we're in charge of it. Why do we lose control of it? Number one, we try to do too much at once. We can only focus on so many things at a time, so many objectives in a quarter, let alone a year. And sometimes we just come out guns a-blazing, don't think things through. We bought a new piece of equipment. We're really excited, but we don't know how to implement it. Causes a little bit of pushback, a little bit of stress. If you don't anticipate how your staff's going to react to a change, it's going to cause an issue for you. So stress, and that comes from insurance battles, staff shortages, financial pressure. You buy that new piece of equipment, you have to pay for it. You hire a new staff member, you got to see a certain amount of patients. When I moved to the new office location a year ago, brought on the new doctor, everything went as planned except for the fact that she was not busy out of the gates. She was not operating at her full potential out of the gates. That put a lot of stress and pressure on me. A lot of my things that I wanted to do as I moved into the new office got delayed about a year because I had to focus on trying to bring revenue in. That's why we're down 78 exams for the month, because last year I just said, give me a comprehensive exam every 15 minutes. And I did that all day, and I would see 25 comprehensive exams. Was it as effective as I could be? No. Was it as productive as I could be? Yes, in terms of capacity. No, in terms of revenue. Was it the life I wanted to live? Absolutely not. But sometimes you make a bed, you have to lay in it. But that will burn you out. That's how you lose control of the flashlight. Constant interruptions from your staff. Are you the bottleneck? I asked my office manager and myself on a weekly basis, what situations arose where you were the bottleneck? And how do we fix that? So many times a staff member will come back, Dr. Lilly, quick question for you. X, Y, and Z. I give them the answer and we go from there. I purposefully do not go into the office on Fridays until the staff leaves. We're open 9 to noon. I go in at about 11:30 so I can get a gauge of how the day went, which I'll go into later, but I get a gauge on how the day went, and then I get to work on what I need to without interruption the rest of the day. They get through that day without me there. It can be done. When I am available to be interrupted, they can interrupt me. When I'm not available, they function. So the bottleneck for me in those situations is accepting that I'll give them an answer. I got to start putting my foot down and saying no. But again, that will derail the flashlight. And then just putting yourself on autopilot. We get really good at running the business, and you can get comfortable. It can get easy. And there's days you wake up and you just don't want to deal with the problems at hand. You just want to get through a day. I understand. I've been there. But if you start stacking autopilot days on top of each other, you lose control of the flashlight. You just are getting by and you're not in control. And if you don't train your attention, train how you're going to use that flashlight, your office will. And it's not going to be the most effective use of your time, effort, and energy. So make sure that you're aware of these situations and you're putting systems in place so they don't trip you up. So in the book, in the conversations that I listened to, there were a few strategies that she brought up. And I'm going to bring them up because I actually have been doing it and it has helped me. But they can seem kind of meta and kind of woo-woo, right? One of them is understanding what mindfulness means. And mindfulness isn't sitting kumbaya, meditating, woosah, making yourself feel all in touch with the universe. Okay? It's attention training. When you're mindful of the situation, your mindfulness, you know what the situation is, and you are making dedicated effort to the task at hand. You can train where your attention goes. I've really put an effort in, like I said. When I'm doing patient care, I'm not looking at distractions that will get me off the patient care path. I'm not looking at the, what we've done revenue for today. I'm not looking at the KPIs that are directly related to today. If I have downtime, yes, I'll review numbers that I'm going to look at later in the week, but it's past. I'm not looking at it in the moment. I used to be, patient came in, what do they do immediately? And that would dictate whether I was having a good day or a bad day. I'd let good days or bad days be dictated by revenue coming in. As I've gone away from that, I have more peace. Again, my stress level is lower because I am satisfied with seeing a patient and knowing I did everything I possibly could to give them the best possible experience. And again, it's that mindfulness reframing. I think I've been more focused when there's pressure. My emotional roller coaster is more even keel. I'm not going up and down. I'm not getting too high, too low. I'm also making better decisions because I'm not reacting to the moment. I'm looking at data when I make a decision at least a week out, more often a month or 3 months, but training how you use your focus. So where does this come? How does it apply in the real world? On patient care days, when you get ready to go, you go through your schedule, you look at the day, and you know at 10 o'clock, you're going to have a problem patient. They've always given you issues, or it's an RX check or something, but you have a 9:15 and a 9:30. My patient is handed off to me from my tech. Before I go to the exam room, I turn, take a deep breath, smile, and I enter that exam room ready to go. When I worked the summer before I went to optometry school, I was a canvasser for a roofing company. And my job was to drive around, find roofs that looked like they needed new roofs, new shingles. Didn't know much about this. I canvassed some roofs that were brand new, but hey, that's me learning what an architectural shingle is. Look it up if you don't know. And I just cold called, knock on the door, and I had 10 seconds to make that person like me. Otherwise, they're going to sick their dog on me, get me kicked out of the neighborhood. And I got really good at it. I use that mentality still when I walk into the exam room, but I take a deep breath and I go in there and give it to them. Mentally, take everything that's going on in your world, and when you go into that exam room, it does not exist. You are dialed into the moment. All your attention is given to that patient. And if you don't think they don't know, they do. You're making eye contact. You're not multitasking. You're giving them everything you have. And that, in this world of smartphones, smartwatches, like dopamine hits galore, makes a difference. So go in there, own the room. You get better patient trust, better patient outcomes, better reviews. Staff conversations. I have one-on-one meetings with my entire staff. This is not scalable, but it's where I'm at in the current situation as I train my manager to be the leader I want her to become. And I'm gauging the temperature of the room, how the new culture is working. I would much rather be doing other things than one-on-one meetings. There's times when I'm meeting with a staff member and it's me and the office manager, and she'll start talking and I'll start typing on my computer, or I'll be answering a Slack message from the staff. I am consciously aware of that, taking away from our interaction in a one-on-one. You do this on a daily basis, I'm sure, not intentional, but because you're trying to talk to a staff member and something else arises, or a patient comes in, something happens. You have to do everything you can to give your staff in that moment your time, effort, and energy. It'll be appreciated. They'll see that you actually care and you'll get better results. You'll get a better read of the room too, because when you're distracted, you don't catch those subtle little body language, gestures, words they use that could be indicative of an underlying problem. A lot of times, to get the staff to communicate, to participate, to be engaged, you have to pull it out of them. And if you're not actively involved in that conversation, it's much more difficult to be a good leader. As the CEO of your office, you make big decisions on a daily basis. Are we going to hire this new staff member? Are we going to approve this time off? What's the focus for the office meeting? What pieces of equipment are we going to buy for the upcoming year? When you make those big decisions, you want to be focused and aligned with what your strategy is. You have a bunch of distractions, a bunch of stress, you're not going to make the best decisions. We've all been there. We do it on a daily basis. Even when you are trying to be 100% laser focused, I bet the best you can get is like 95%. But 95% is way better than 75%. So do your best to be dialed in, and this will make you a better CEO, better leader. You'll have a better business. And the last thing on this is, when you are in charge of what you're focused on, I guarantee you are less likely to burn out. When you talk to doctors that are just stressed out of their minds, it's because they never get away and they're always putting out fires that they don't want to be dealing with. Staffing is the number one issue. You ever see a doctor, a practice owner that goes on vacation and they're away for a good week and they come back and they're just as stressed as when they left because they never got away? On vacation, they were still worried about something that they didn't address. And they're coming back to the same staff. They got away, sure, but now they're dreading coming back. Burnout will happen when you don't control where your attention goes. Realize that you're in the driver's seat. You need to take it by the wheel and make sure your focus, your attention is on the things that you deem important. And in the moment, whatever situation you are in, you're giving everything you have to the situation you are. Now, if you're not, take a step back and say, are you distracted, or is the situation you're doing not worth your time? Because it might not be something you need to be doing. You can delegate it to someone else, and that's a good leader. That'll also reduce some of that stress. Again, you control this. Take a step back, see where your energy is going. So that's the message I will leave you with. That's the framework. I thought it was really good insight for my manager that I'm trying to train and myself. Our time and focus and attention is irreplaceable. You can't get more of it. People really can't do it for you. You have to determine what you're focused on. And you have to be a strong enough leader to know what matters. And as you listen to this, I know it comes out on a Thursday, you're going into the weekend. I don't want you to make a bunch of strategic shifts. I don't want you to make a bunch of big changes yet. Go into Monday, and every single day, try to do it by hour. Just at the end of an hour, where was my attention for this hour? Where was my attention at the end of the day? Where are you pointing your flashlight? Is it a spotlight? Is it a floodlight? Are you constantly juggling things? Just take a week, look at what you're doing with it, and then adjust, adapt. You're going to be surprised at what you find out. I'm doing this podcast. I'm talking to myself. I'm amazed at the things that I focus on. And I often ask myself, why do I always default to this? Why do I want to do this? The things that I'm avoiding, why am I avoiding them? Why am I not putting my attention there? Is it not important? Or is there something that I'm afraid of addressing or not qualified to do, or I just don't feel right about? And you'll get answers that you've been looking for when you analyze those situations. So, another big picture CEO mindset type episode, but it's important for us to be as successful as we possibly can be. So take it. We'll have more for you next week. Where has the time gone? We're to the closing thought of the episode, and I ran across this saying, and I'm going to read it to you, and then I thought it was profound. I honestly thought it was a very profound statement, and I did a little bit of digging and research into it. And I got a lot of different angles from it, and I want to share them with you. So, the day a blind man sees, the first thing he throws away is a stick that has helped him all his life. And that I thought was so deep. What does that mean? And a couple of things that I took away from that as I don't know, meditated, thought on this. Why did it resonate so much with me? At first, it was one of those things that made me kind of sad. And it's where the stick, and it's a stick, I know, but use it as a metaphor. The thing that got you to this point that you needed your entire life, circumstances change and you don't need it anymore, so you get rid of it. And you think of when you're growing up, your dependency on your parents. You think of your kids as they get older, as they see you. Are you the stick that as they learn to see, they toss you aside? And yes, that can be how you take it, but realize too that just because your circumstances, your situation changes in life, doesn't mean that that stick that got you there wasn't a huge part of your life, that you're not grateful for the time that you had, the gratitude that you have for that person, that thing, the situation is still there. But as we evolve and grow, there's different levels that you have to get to. And, think about it in the context of being a parent, your parents. I still love my parents, but if I was dependent on them for my food, shelter, decision making, I wouldn't be running a business. I wouldn't have what I have right now. They got me to this point. As I look at my kids and I get just sad thinking about them growing up and not needing me, not needing to lean on me and look at me like I'm the smartest person in the world, right? I like that moment, that season I'm in, but I don't want that for them. I want them to be independent, functioning members of society. So I thought that was a really nice way to think about it. There's also a lot of things of growing involves change and pain. And a different kind of pain. It's a new challenge, a new world. And when the blind man sees, he doesn't need the stick that got him all the way there. as we evolve as CEOs of our practices, the things that we used to do, the patient care aspects, being the number one provider in the office, doesn't matter. And it doesn't mean they weren't important, they weren't valuable. It doesn't mean it wasn't good. But where you want to be to do the new things are new requirements, new things that you're going to lean on. There's a new stick that's going to come into your life. And, in this analogy, metaphor, whatever you want to call it, glasses might be the thing. He doesn't have a stick, he can see, but now he has vision issues. He puts on glasses. Now that's the new thing that got him through. The person that got his LASIK tosses the glasses aside. Think it through, but as you level up, as you move to new arenas, new situations, circumstances and physical abilities change, you adapt. There's going to come a time where I am not the most youthful, energetic person in the office. I'm not the youngest by far right now, but I still feel like I have the most energy. I can grind on a daily basis. I'll hit a point where I won't be able to rely solely on just that energy, because I'll be old and won't have it, but I'll have wisdom. I'll be able to see around corners that my younger counterparts won't be able to have that same experience yet. New challenge, new arena. And I guess that's what I took away from that quote. It seems silly. I thought it was funny because we're an optometry podcast talking about a blind man and casting away his cane. But I thought there was a deeper meaning to it. And it meant something to me. I hope you get something from that. But just think about the situations that you're in, what got you there, where you want to go, and how you're going to have to evolve and change, and how it doesn't make the past not valuable, not important. It just means there's a new journey ahead. That's what I have for you. Dr. Lilly out.